I sit by the floor-to-ceiling window of my apartment, the morning sun casting golden streaks across my polished oak floors. My fingers trace the rim of my coffee mug, the warmth seeping into my skin, a small comfort against the tight coil of memories in my chest. From here, I can see the city waking up, cars honking, people rushing, life moving forward without pause. And yet, for a brief moment, I feel entirely alone. My phone buzzes against the glass table, pulling me from the quiet. A message from my sister. I hesitate. The name flashes on the screen, Claire. My heart skips, a mix of dread and suppressed anger rising like acid in my throat. I haven't spoken to her in years. Not since that night when she pushed me out, stomach swollen with our child, and my parents turned their backs, tossing my baby's toys into garbage bags like they were nothing. I take a slow breath, rolling my shoulders, straightening the silk blouse I picked this morning for a board meeting. They see success, elegance, control, but they don't see the scars beneath the tailored suits and practiced smiles. Curiosity wrestles with caution. My fingers hover over the reply button, the memory of that night flooding my mind, the betrayal, the cold hallway, the sound of the front door clicking shut behind me. Every fiber of me wants to slam the phone down, yet a part aches to face the ghosts I left behind. I glance at the crib in the corner, at the tiny stuffed bear with one ear slightly torn. My son is asleep, unaware of what family really means, and I am forced to ask myself, am I ready to confront the past, or is some pain better left buried? The night I left, rain streaked the windows like tears I couldn't shed fast enough. I was 24, 6 months pregnant, clutching the small duffel bag that carried all I could call mine. Every step toward the door felt heavier than the last, weighed down by betrayal and fear. Claire had thrown my suitcase across the hallway like it was a joke, her laugh echoing in the hollow apartment. "You're on your own, Emily. We don't need your kind here." The words pierced deeper than any slap could have. I froze, my knuckles white around the strap of my bag, my stomach tight with both the baby inside me and the lump in my throat. I wanted to scream, to beg for even the tiniest scrap of compassion, but no sound came. My parents stood behind her, silent witnesses to my undoing, their eyes avoiding mine. I realized then that I had nothing, no home, no protection, no ally in the people who were supposed to love me unconditionally. I stumbled into my bedroom one last time. My hands trembled as I picked up the small wooden music box Grandma had given me before she passed. I wound it, and a soft melody filled the air, a lullaby that reminded me I wasn't completely alone. "You're stronger than they'll ever know," Grandma's note had said. I pressed it to my chest, letting the vibration soothe me, anchoring the fragile courage I hadn't realized I still possessed. Outside, the rain intensified, matching the rhythm of my heartbeat. The front door loomed, both an end and a beginning. I glanced back once more, at the discarded toys in the living room, the tiny socks in the trash, the life I had built that was now reduced to rubble. I swallowed the lump of despair and took a step forward. Then another. By the time I closed the door behind me, the echo of Claire's laughter had faded, replaced by the soft, steady music of the box and the resolve building in my chest. That night, I promised myself I would survive, not just for me, but for the little life growing inside me. And somewhere deep down, I knew that survival was the first step toward something greater. I rented a tiny studio apartment that smelled faintly of paint and rain, but it was mine. My son, little Noah, slept in a makeshift crib beside my bed while I spread out notebooks, bills, and resumes across the floor. Every day was a battle, a symphony of exhaustion, fear, and hope, but I clung to the music box in my hand, winding it each night, letting its melody remind me that I had a purpose bigger than my despair. The first months were grueling. I cleaned offices by day and wrote resumes for strangers by night, trying to earn enough to feed both of us. The hours bled together, sleep was scarce, and sometimes, when Noah's cries pierced the silent apartment, I cried too. I had no one to lean on, no family to hold me up. Yet, there was an undeniable spark inside me, a stubborn refusal to let my circumstances define my worth. One evening, while delivering papers for a small consulting firm, I met Madeline, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a warmer heart than anyone I had ever known. She noticed the notebooks and the careful handwriting, the determination etched into my tired features. "You're smarter than you think, Emily," she said, handing me her card. "Call me if you're serious about doing more than just surviving." I did call her. Under her guidance, I started my own small consulting business from that cramped apartment. Every day was a lesson in resilience, negotiating contracts, learning software, pitching clients who doubted a young single mother with no pedigree, no connections. I watched my son grow in the corner, stacking blocks, his laughter the fuel I needed to keep going. Every small success, the first contract signed, the first positive client feedback, the first $500 in profit, was a victory not just for me, but for both of us. I kept my achievements hidden from my family. On social media, I posted modest updates, smiles at playgrounds, photos of Noah in messy aprons, never hinting at the growing empire I was quietly building. Every milestone was sacred, a secret fortress against the memory of betrayal. I had learned that power could be quiet, invisible, patient, and still infinitely potent. Through years of sleepless nights, relentless work, and endless self-doubt, I became something I never imagined I could be. A woman in control, creating a world where my son would never feel unwanted or unworthy. I became proof that survival could transform into success, that pain could be alchemy, and that even the most fractured beginnings could birth something whole, beautiful, and unstoppable. The music box still sat on my desk, a reminder that the path from hurt to triumph was long, winding, and worth every tear shed along the way. The knock at the door was polite but deliberate, a sound I hadn't heard in years. I paused, adjusting the tailored blazer I had chosen for the morning meeting that had now been postponed, my heart skipping, not with fear, but with anticipation. I already knew who it would be: Claire. And my parents. When I opened the door, their eyes immediately darted around the apartment, then froze. The space was nothing like the tiny, threadbare rooms they had cast me out of years ago. Sunlight streamed across wide plank wooden floors. Abstract paintings hung tastefully on the walls. My desk bore a neat stack of contracts and awards, and beside it, my son's favorite stuffed bear sat on a chair, perfectly positioned, as if waiting for them to notice. Claire's jaw tightened. "Emily," she started, but no words followed. My mother's hand trembled as she touched the polished surface of the coffee table, her gaze landing on a framed photo of Noah holding his first science fair ribbon. We didn't know," my father stammered, though the shame in his eyes said more than any words could. I guided them into the living room with deliberate calm, letting them drink in the space, letting every expensive detail, every carefully curated object, silently speak the truth. I had built a life they had tried to destroy, and I had succeeded beyond their wildest expectations. Finally, I spoke, my voice smooth but firm, carrying both warmth and steel. "I don't expect apologies. I don't need pity. But I want you to understand something. The woman you tried to erase, you didn't." I gestured toward my desk, toward the contracts neatly stacked, the awards gleaming in the sunlight. "This is who I became. My company, my home, my son. Everything I built from nothing without you." Claire flinched. "Emily, her voice faltered, words tripping over guilt, confusion, disbelief. I let the silence stretch. They needed to absorb it. They needed to see the full scope of what they had attempted to crush. I could feel Noah's small hand in mine, a quiet anchor, reminding me that this moment wasn't about revenge. It was about truth. "I am a CEO now," I continued, voice steady, almost melodic, with clients across the country, a team that respects me, and a son who will never know what it is to feel unwanted. "And you need to understand that the choices you made didn't break me. They made me unstoppable." My parents sank into the sofa, the weight of shame pressing them down. Claire's shoulders shook slightly, her bravado finally stripped away. I watched them, their disbelief, their guilt, the flicker of admiration they couldn't yet voice, and I realized something profound. Power was not in the anger I could have wielded, but in the life I had created in spite of their cruelty. For a moment, the room was still except for Noah's quiet breathing. And then, as I saw the raw, unguarded expressions on their faces, I knew the confrontation wasn't about punishment. It was about unveiling the truth, letting them witness the strength, resilience, and brilliance they had once tried to extinguish. I smiled, a mixture of grace and triumph. "Welcome to my world," I said softly, letting the words linger, heavy with meaning. I leaned against the edge of my desk, letting the silence stretch, letting them feel the weight of every choice they had made. This was the moment I had waited for. Not to yell, not to beg, but to assert the power I had quietly built over years of struggle. "My success isn't a punishment for any of you," I said, voice calm but unyielding. "It's proof of what happens when someone refuses to be broken. But if you want to be part of my life, or Noah's, you need to meet me halfway." Claire's lips trembled. What do you mean?" I took a deep breath. "Claire, I know we were close once.
But you hurt me.
You tried to erase me when I needed family most. If you want a relationship with Noah or me, you need to start by acknowledging that, by taking responsibility, and by proving you can be a person who lifts instead of destroys." My mother's eyes welled with tears, her hands twisting nervously. "And us. You," I said softly, "will need to learn to see us as whole people, not as the sum of your mistakes. Therapy, honesty, effort, you will do the work. No shortcuts. And your actions must match your words." My father swallowed hard, shame visible on every line of his face. We can do that." "You will," I corrected gently. "This isn't a favor I'm granting. It's a condition for being allowed back into our lives. Because Noah deserves adults who act like they care, not just say they do." I paused, glancing at my son playing quietly with a puzzle in the corner. The innocence in his face reminded me why I had fought so hard, why I had built this life. He would never inherit the pain, neglect, or betrayal that had once defined me. "And for all of you," I continued, "this is about growth. Not for me, though I've already grown, but for yourselves. Stop clinging to old patterns. Chase your own dreams. Learn to respect the people around you. This is how we heal. This is how we move forward." Claire nodded slowly, guilt etched in every movement. My parents, trembling but attentive, finally met my gaze. "We'll try," my mother whispered. I let a small, almost imperceptible smile cross my face. Compassion didn't mean weakness. Love didn't mean tolerating cruelty. I could offer guidance, boundaries, and a chance, but I wouldn't bend to the same patterns that had once suffocated me. Power, I realized, wasn't just in wealth, recognition, or success. It was in choosing how to engage with people who had hurt you, in setting terms, in holding the line while still showing mercy. And in that room, watching them absorb the truth, I knew the balance had shifted. This was no longer about me surviving alone. This was about us all having a chance to rise, on my terms, guided by respect, honesty, and the hard-won lessons of years I'd spent fighting for life, dignity, and love. Weeks passed, and subtle changes began to show. Claire spent afternoons with Noah, no longer tentative, but genuinely present, listening, laughing, even apologizing in ways that felt real. My parents attended therapy, their steps toward accountability hesitant, but unmistakable. The house, once a place of tension and old pain, slowly shifted into a space where healing could happen, though carefully, cautiously, and on my terms. I watched it all with quiet pride, sitting at my desk as the music box played softly beside me. Its notes carried a memory of the woman I had been, the scared, pregnant girl who had nothing but hope and determination. Now, those same notes reminded me of how far I had come, the life I had built, the son who thrived under my love, and the family who was learning, slowly, what it meant to respect and honor us. Noah brought his puzzle over, placing a small piece in my hand. "Mommy, look. I did it," he said, eyes sparkling. And in that simple moment, I felt the culmination of years of struggle, heartbreak, and relentless effort. Every night I had stayed awake, Every tear I had shed, every challenge I had faced, it all led to this. A life where love wasn't defined by fear or rejection, where strength and compassion could coexist. I picked up the music box and wound it once more, letting the lullaby fill the apartment. Its melody was a reminder, a promise, a declaration. I was no longer the girl thrown out into the rain, no longer the woman defined by their cruelty. I was Emily, a mother, a leader, a survivor, and a force no one could dismiss. Looking out at the city skyline, sunlight reflecting off glass towers, I whispered to myself, a soft smile tugging at my lips. They threw away my child's toys like trash, but I built a world where nothing and no one could ever discard us again. And in that moment, I realized something profound. True power wasn't in the fortune I had amassed or the office I commanded. It was in the life I had nurtured, the love I had protected, and the boundaries I had courageously drawn. I had taken the pain, the betrayal, the heartbreak, and transformed it into something unshakable, proof that even when life knocks you down, you can rise, radiant, whole, and unstoppable.